So we absolutely just have to talk about the Master Multiplied. Welcome to a cEDH card review. Now, sooner or later you are going to play against this guy. Someone of your opponents are going to play test it. I'm going to personally play test it for sure, because it actually looks really fun. But there is actually some potential as well. So it's a very expensive black, red, 4 generic, a total of 6 CMC, 4 free legendary Time Lord rogue. With Myriad, which means that whenever this thing attacks, you're creating a token of it that is attacking every other opponent. So if you have 3 opponents, which is the usual count, you're getting 2 tokens when this thing attacks. But then the legendary rule doesn't apply to creature tokens you control. This is kinda key, otherwise Myriad won't work. But then the last ability, triggered abilities you control can't cause you to sacrifice or exile creature tokens you control. This means you get to keep your Myriad tokens this thing generated. And here's the other crazy part, these tokens have a Myriad as well. So the first time this thing attacks, you're making 3 tokens. The second time this attacks, you're getting up to 9 tokens, because each individual token will make 2 other new tokens. And that is how this just spiral out of control really fast. I mean, eventually you will have like infinite. Okay, you will actually never really reach infinite, but very similar to how Nayela works is that you're starting to climb to a really high count quite fast. Like this guy is actually operating very similar to how Nayela Beats actually operates, except it's a little bit stronger. However, he also costs more. Now that cost isn't necessarily a problem, as in Red-Black Rakdos you have a lot of rituals of various kinds to get him into play eventually. And if you want more, then you have things like Lion's Eye Diamond as well that will pay for 50% of his mana cost. Mana Vault will help out a lot getting him into play. Like, there are just so many variations of rituals. If Godo actually taught us one thing, is that it's not that impossible to actually reach the mana that you need, as power creep rituals have definitely done a lot. The next step is preferably haste. You wanna get this guy into play as fast as possible. When he comes into play you have to pass turn, because he is lacking haste. However, if you have tricks to give him haste, like Hall of the Bandit Warlord, or just the typical casual staple Lightning Greaves, then problem solved. So the game plan is more or less ramp the guy into play as fast as you can, start attacking and eventually kill your opponents with a lot of multiple variations of your commander. Like, you have your win con inside command zone, so to say. There is actually a card we could take a look at, and that's Slicer Hired Muscle. So both of these 2 commanders are solving one of the many problems with the multiplayer aggro concept. You see, in multiplayer you have several opponents, you have to choose who you're going to kill. The thing with Slicer and definitely the Master Multiple is that they are both killing everyone kinda equally, or kinda at the same time. You're basically attacking everyone. We actually have some data from Slicer entering into tournaments and how well that have actually performed. So 22.39 from 13 decks is the average win rate Slicer have been able to achieve. Now, first of all, that's a very low inclusion rate, like 13 decks entered in the tournament doesn't say much, it's saying something. So it's showcasing that it's kinda working out. The aggro concept, that is. But let's put that 22.39 in perspective. For example, Kedis with Malcolm, 20.48. You have Malcolm and Tana, 26.79. Kenrith, 24.64. Vinota, 15.88. Now here we have a lot more decks, we have 80 decks. If we take a look at Slicer again, that's 13, so I wouldn't really trust that value. Now, I know that Slicer and the Master Multiple are not the same, they're very different, but it's kind of good to look at commanders that are operating in the aggro concept, that are trying to punch people's face and win the game that way, with only the commander from the command zone. It's kind of nice to have some look into a command that is doing a similar thing. I actually think that the Master Multiple will be better though. because you're adding more colors, and I do think that the myriad concept is better than the sending slice around to be controlled by everyone. However, we have to talk about something really important. You see, you are not going to be the fastest deck on the table, because like killing everyone with infinite, or not infinite once again, just a lot of myriad creatures aren't going to kill everyone as fast as you could kill everyone with a typical cEDH combo. However, that's not what people are going to see. They're going to see the master multiple starting to basically multiple. So one opponent is basically sitting with Fasa's consult in their hand, hidden information. They are the biggest threat, but no one is seeing that. They are seeing the master multiple coming into play, and then everyone's guns are and priority and threat assessment are going to say, deal with that thing. And then suddenly Fasa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation can sneak in a win. You see, a lot of wins actually happen because of incorrect threat assessment. And yeah, the Master Multiple is making a really good case, saying, deal with me. So I honestly think that a big problem this commander is going to have is just that it is going to be interacted with quite a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things that actually stop this. Draenite Magistrate is heavily played. Swords to Plowshare is also heavily played. Like, cast this, pass turn, before you get your turn, it's already sorted for just 1 white mana. You spend 6 mana, and someone just spent 1 mana. Toxic Deluge will basically deal with this guy, and also if you start developing, then yeah, boom, he's gone. Dress Down is a very efficient way of dealing with this guy. Damn have been starting to become popular and see some play from now and then. And you can just Rift. A lot of decks are playing Cyclonic Rift from time to time. But you might have to play some stacks or some form of interaction, just because the fact that your opponents are gonna be faster than you, and you might become interacted with, so you might have to have a second go at it, where you climb up to the 8 mana for casting him the second time. So yeah, you're going to need to delay the game, so to say, a tiny bit. Here you're seeing some small statistics that me and Pontus are calculating from our cEDH TV gameplays. So what we have here are basically who won and then what turn that person won on. So from 38 games, very low sample size, but we are calculating more and more as we go, we have reached an average turn by 4.16. So the end game basically ends somewhere around turn 4 on average in our game sessions. And I also should mention that we sometimes actually play some fringe commanders, we play some really strange things, and also experimental things. So the average turn in a real tournament setting could be lower. And I don't think that this guy can win in an average turn 4, so to say. Getting him into play turn 2 shouldn't be impossible. Attacking happens first at turn 3, so you're dealing something like 12 damage to all of your opponents. Maybe one of your opponents actually blocks and kill one of the tokens. Probably not, so you're dealing 12 damage. Now you have 3 tokens. On turn 4, you're attacking with 9 tokens. And yeah, you're dealing a lot of damage now. But you're still not killing everyone. They are taking a lot of damage, and they are probably not happy. But you're killing them somewhere around turn 5, if you're able to cast this on turn 2. So I'm actually gonna say that I think he's slow, and therefore basically have to play interaction to make sure that the game goes to that turn count that you need. On the other hand, that shouldn't be too impossible. We already have a few great black interaction stacks cards. They're doing a good job at making sure your opponents aren't winning the match. And you even have some cool red ones, as well as some actually pretty cool, well not good, but pretty cool red counterspells as well. So he has tools, and that is why I'm basically going to say this. There is potential. This guy absolutely could get some games in tournaments and absolutely could win some of them. If Slicer can win some games, then this guy can definitely win some games. And I have to say, I think it's going to be fun. It's also very consistent. All you really need is just get this guy from your command zone into play, and you're starting to eventually win the game. So soon you might see me upload a few gameplay matches when I play the guy on my other cEDH gameplay channel. Now we have a lot of more legendaries from Doctor Who, so more card reviews are coming up We have a lot of cards to talk about actually. Take care guys, and I hope you got inspired and learned something new. I'll see you in the next video.